Look at this milk carton. Except it's not a milk carton. It's this building from southeast Baldur's Gate. Or in a few minutes, it will be. Now there is nothing to do in this building. Nothing of interest, no treasure, no quests. The only two NPCs don't have anything to say to you. This is not useless. This is what makes Baldur's Gate so great, the sense of exploration and knowing that the world is not centered around you. It's a fully fleshed out, realized world. So first I covered it up with graphics medium chipboard. This is the thick cardstock you'll find at the back of a notepad, but you could buy it in bulk like I do if you want. There's links in the video description below. Anyway, that's easy. The hard part I knew was going to be the bricks. Have a look at this patio. It's kind of interesting. Red bricks surrounding a recessed gray cobblestone in the middle, and it seems to be a walk-up. I normally don't like doing this, but I'm going to go with manually carving out bricks from XPS foam. I score the lines with an X-Acto knife first, then chase it with a mechanical pencil second to widen the cracks. And here's a slab of double corrugated cardboard to which I've attached some foam, and I used a cobblestone texture roller, then painted it up. It's not going to look great, but I really don't care. It doesn't need to. It doesn't look great in the source image, so that's fine. After a bunch of experimentation, here's what I came up for a brick painting kit. A nice base coat of terracotta or sweet potato color. Then picking out some bricks with a burnt umber, and others with a pale flesh color. Then a quick dry brush of the entire thing with that pale flesh color. And then a wash with some watered down orangey brown ink. Not shown on camera, but I think this was basically 50-50 orange and brown ink, plus some matte medium. Okay, windows. Let's go to the bits bin, because I remember having these things. Weird hangers with mesh on them. A little bit of slicing and dicing here, and I've got my mesh for the windows. Using superglue and superglue accelerant, I attached toothpicks to the sides and a bit of popsicle stick along the bottom to act as the sill. And this is raw smooth plastic, so it needs God's gift to humanity, Rust-Oleum 2X flat gray primer. And then painted it up with a couple of browns and washes. I'm not going to belabor that. Let's see, while that was drying, quick little touch, we need these chimneys here. I made those out of cardboard and chipboard. And after attaching those, I shingled up the roof. Same cereal box cardstock technique I've used dozens of times before, so I'm not going to belabor that either. Now, painting the roof. Look at this roof. This is the same color as that temple that gave me so much trouble back in one of the earlier videos of this sub-series. I never got that one right, but I'm going to this time. This roof has hints of blue and hints of purple, but it's very desaturated. So, I'm going to mix together ink in that ratio, 2 violet, 2 blue, and 1 black to do the desaturating. And as always, I'm mixing them up about 50-50 with matte medium, not water. This will ensure the mixture stays in place because as I cram it up underneath the shingles where you want the shadow to be, it'll stay there and not run down like a wash would. And this looks very thick and dark and opaque when it's wet, but when it dries, it is much subtler. You've just got to have faith. While that was drying, I took care of some other bits like the doorway and glued on the windows. And I did the railing. Oh my god, this railing. This was not fun for me. I've got some kebab skewers, so I pre-drilled holes where the railing posts are going to go, chopped them to length, I think they're about 1 inch, and I'm going to use more of these thin coffee stirrers that I love so much as the actual banister. For the ones on the stairs, I had to chop them at an angle so that I could get good solid contact with the glue. There's not much surface area to begin with. And I started out using white glue, but that was very finicky. I switched to super glue later. You're not going to see these joints because they're underneath the banister anyway. Anyways, eventually I got that done and painted it up blue, just like the image. Only 1 coat, so it dried kinda splotchy, but that's fine. Again, Baldur's Gate art style is splotchy. And once that was all dry, this step was actually pretty gratifying. Laying down a little bit of white glue and attaching them in and seeing them fit perfectly, all the pegs in a hole. Beautiful. So once again, here is the source image. And here's the finished building. Looking back, this was fun. I kind of did this one on a whim. I was working on another building, but getting sick of it. We'll get to that in a minute. So I put it aside and built this, and I like all the different colors, and I don't know, something about it is just not very me. So it's really refreshing to see it sitting there on my storage shelf with all my other work. Feels like, I guess the word for that is growth. Anyway, here it is in context in the city, along with all the other cool stuff that we've made in this sub-series. I'll put a card on the screen for the playlist for it in case you're new here. But notice there's also this other new building right over here. But let's pump the brakes a minute. So this building was actually not the original source of this video. It was built on a whim after I was unhappy with this building. This was originally supposed to be this video. And it doesn't look terrible. It looks fine for what it is, but it didn't come out looking exactly like I thought in my mind's eye. But that's okay. Persevere. Don't throw your projects away halfway through if you're unhappy with them. Finish them through and you'll find some use for them. I find that until the very last bit of raw material has been painted over, the thing is gonna look terrible. It's weird how it just pops into reality once you finally finish the last bit of painting. I don't even know what I want to say. I hate having to pad out these videos. Here's some buildings. Maybe this should be, let's capture something for the thumbnail. And they do the I'm in love face. I hate that shit. First, I prepared some brick texture sheets using painters, caulk, and green stuff world rollers. I assembled a very simple square cardboard box structure and cut out some rectangles from my texture sheet to serve as those alcoves. Those got glued on first, and then everything around them got filled in with extra chipboard to bring the face up to be the same depth. Then I marked those alcoves on a larger piece of the texture sheet and cut away the alcoves from it. Now this will get glued over top and we have some actual depth. Now I believe in painting stuff as much as you can before attaching it, both for ease and cleanliness of the final result. So I messed around with various ratios of blue and teal ink before ultimately settling on just teal ink. And of course some matte medium, about 50-50. But I laid those down to dry and then got to painting the larger pieces. Here's where I messed up. No matter what I did, I couldn't quite get a color match to the source image. And that's okay, this ends up looking nice and grungy and sort of indefinably grayish, but I'm not going to belabor this. Did a crude base coat, picked out a few bricks with different colors, and then washed it. Then I dry brushed and washed it like 3 more times trying to correct the color. And now for the roof. As always, I recommend basing in black before laying down wood floors. So I did that, and then I got some jumbo popsicle sticks. And took a few minutes just laying down a nice plank roof. I also attached these along the sides. This turns the roof into basically a lid, and when I hot glue it onto the structure later, it's going to ensure that it stays square. Back to the teal ink, no matte medium here. When going directly onto wood, I want it to sort of soak in. And those little stanchions on the top, I just took bits of foam and pre-attached them, built bridges with popsicle sticks that have been pre-stained with teal, and covered up each piling with more of that brick texture sheet. And remember, if you're a 3D printer, you must check out Heroes Horde and their outstanding selection of models for your tabletop gaming, including the original True Tiles lines. And here we go, the grand fit up. Very satisfying. There are a few more details to knock out, like the door. It's just another coffee stirrer stick door, stained with an oil wash. And the windows. For the windows, I used cereal box cardstock, measured out all the frame widths, I think they were 3/16 of an inch wide, and cut them out with an X-Acto knife. This did not take as long as I thought it would, maybe 15 minutes, for 16 windows. And lastly, there's this thing on top, on the roof. It ain't rocket science. I made the structure out of cardboard and chipboard, painted as I went, attached more popsicle sticks, and the longest part here was the roof. I did measure out some 1/2-inch widths, and cut clean triangles instead of just random tabs. I overlapped them at a 1/2 offset in order to get this look. Nice. I'm actually very happy with this particular roof. The painting also came out real nice. Mint green plus a sky blue for the base coat, a nice healthy ink and matte medium wash, and a dry brush with a sherbet green. Yeah, that's aqua-ish. That's bursting with color. Oh, and a final touch, there's some grass growing out of the cracks between the planks on the roof, so we'll do a bit of white glue and some Army Painter static grass. So once again, here's the source image, and here's the finished building. This building is in the Baldur's Gate Docks District, area 1200, and inside there's some ogre mages that want to assassinate you. There's not much else to it, to my knowledge. So I filled up a table. Let's go have a look at a portion of the city. I've also revamped my miniatures approach again. Had all these soldier minis lying around, so I painted them up like flaming fist guards. Also, I bought some villagers on my mini factory, printed them up and painted them, so I have like 20 or 25 villagers now. For differentiation, they get dirt bases. And I did all of them courtesy of Army Painter and their speed paint lines. Army Painter is a friend of the channel, and speed paints are a miracle product. Things have gotten to the point that I cannot fit all of my Baldur's Gate terrain on one table anymore. You'll notice there's some pieces missing, like the Sorceress Sundries thing I did last video. So what that tells me is it might be time to pause, not move on, but pause this series. I have other non-video related projects that I've really got to get across the finish line. And I'm starting to find that I almost never have to proxy in like a miniature or a terrain feature anymore during an actual game. I tend to have the exact thing that I'm looking for. By the way, a recurring question is about the battle mats that I use. These are Frontline Gaming mats. This one is called Cobblestone City. Before we part, I'd like to briefly give you a reality check. I did purchase Baldur's Gate 3, like so many of you. I never even touched it in early access. This is my first exposure to it. And there may not be another video for some time. Anyway, thanks for watching today. Be sure to find us on Facebook, the Tabletop Crafters Guild. There's over 40,000 people building stuff just like this for their tabletop. And there's tons of links in the video description for resources and ways to support and all that stuff. So I'm Wylock, make things and play games.